My teen stepmother, and I hate calling her that because it gives her a mother title, but whatever, married my dad 2 years after my mom died. I was 8 at the time. Ever since that point, she's called herself my mom and has told me repeatedly that she might not have given birth to me, but she would be raising me longer than my mom did when I turned 18, and therefore she gets to be known as my mom too. I hate it. I hate her for it. And my dad, he sucks for thinking my mom can be replaced like that. I even told him he doesn't love my mom if he's willing to let her be replaced entirely, which he didn't like. So I've told him I hope she haunts him for the rest of his life. My stepmother's mom died 3 weeks ago. She was devastated. I took it as a time to remind her that she'll just be replaced once her dad remarries. And why doesn't she focus on that instead of mourning her mom? She didn't like that. She asked me how I could be so cruel to her. I told her it's what she did. It's what she's been doing ever since she married my dad. That she thinks parents are forgettable and replaceable. And I wasn't going to accept age as an argument because I love mine just as fiercely as she loves hers. She started to cry and told me I was being cruel and that I should want to support her during this. My dad was furious about it all. About a week ago, she asked if I felt guilty about hurting her in the worst moment of her life. I said no. I told her to get to work on finding her new mom. She started to cry again. I told her it was what she did to me, only I was a little kid who had her mom torn from every aspect of her life and had no control over it. I don't even have pictures of her I can access. They gave all her stuff away. It's just all gone. My dad told me I behaved abhorrently and shouldn't treat people I love that way. I told him I didn't love her, I don't care about her, and they should both open their eyes to realize that. Am I the idiot? Edit. They got rid of all my mom's stuff. Her photos were thrown out, her stuff given away. My mom was an only child who had lost both of her parents, so I never had a family from her to connect with either. She was removed completely, and then they acted like she never existed. Not the idiot. People calling you the idiot have no idea what this woman has put you through. Revenge is great. Throwing away her photos and other possessions is unforgivable. It sounds like they tried to erase her. I'm so sorry, OP. Worse, it doesn't sound like they've ever acknowledged that they did this, recognized how wrong it was, or even apologized for it. I'd be very interested to know what kind of justification they have for throwing out all of Mom's photos. But I can't think of one that's not cruel and selfish. OP wasn't kind, no. They didn't have it left in them to be kind. Treating people with respect is hard when they constantly invalidate your existence and rub salt in your wounds. People like OP's father and stepmother are quietly cruel. They stealthily do heartless things and then play the victim when someone's rightly upset and angry. LMAO, I laughed out loud at Get to Work. Tell stepmother to throw out all pictures of her mom. It'll help her get over the loss of her mom. I mean, it was supposed to help you. She and your dad deserve this. She would have been just as vindictive to you when she insisted on being called your mom all those years ago. I hope you have some mementos of your mom from the rest of your family. You can take a 23andMe or Ancestry test and potentially find some of your mom's extended family, like cousins, who can shed some light on who her friends were. The website Classmates lets you look up old yearbooks too, so you can maybe find a high school picture. You can look online for her obituary. It may list places she went to school, worked at, friends, and so on, and have a picture of her. It wouldn't surprise me if your mom's friends have tried to contact you, but your dad or step-evil won't let them talk to you. This is great advice, OP. You should be able to find your mother's family and friends. It's possible that your dad's side of the family might have pictures including her, like wedding pictures, other family events, or your baby pictures. So it could be worth reaching out when you can do so. Good luck. My sister has an attitude that everyone should cater to her for the entire time. She doesn't know what boundaries mean and ignores any complaints we'll make regarding her behavior. Whenever she visits my fiance, me, or our parents, she'll dump her kids on everyone else and sit around with no responsibility. One time she was mad that my fiance couldn't babysit for her kids because my sister wanted to go to a bachelorette party, but it was also my fiance's birthday. So she, of course, didn't want to stay inside watching someone else's kids on her birthday. Now my sister's giving birth to another baby. The baby is brand new. On Saturday, we had to attend my cousin's wedding. My fiance wore her usual perfume. At the reception, my sister tried to dump the baby on my fiance again, but she didn't do so because she smelled my fiance's perfume. She then got mad that my fiance wore perfume and said something like, "You knew you'd be around a baby, and you're wearing a heavy perfume like that?" My fiance told her it was a wedding, and she was allowed to wear perfume. She then noticed my fiance also had a body glitter lotion on, and my sister got even madder. She called my fiance insensitive for wearing perfume and body glitter, knowing she'd have to interact with the baby at some point. I told my sister that maybe she should stop trying to dump her kids onto other people, in this case my fiance, and if other people's scents and lotions bother her so much, she should take care of her kids for once. My parents called me insensitive for saying that to my sister, and how being a mom isn't easy, and I was hard on her. They're also saying I'm an idiot for defending my fiance like that, just for wearing perfume and lotion, and how it's not that difficult to skip perfume and lotion so you can help someone else when needed. They called us disrespectful to my sister's needs and the baby. Not the idiot. Firstly, your fiance did nothing wrong. Secondly, so you should defend your fiance if any of your family comes for her. It sounds like your parents understand your sister's needs perfectly, so she now has 2 new babysitters at her disposal who agree with her no lotion or perfume rules. Perfect. It looks like the perfume and glitter are an effective mooch repellent. Never wear white if there's a surprise wedding, and never wear perfume if you need to hold a baby that's not yours. Any other rules I'm missing? Also, does the sister keep trying to give the baby to the wife? Why not give the baby to her brother? Is the wife specifically targeted? Or am I reading too much into this? What total BS. So someone should not wear perfume or lotion just in case someone needs help with a baby? Again, what total BS. These are your sister's kids. She needs to stop dumping them on other people. The world does not revolve around her. Your parents need to stop enabling her. If your parents are concerned, let them take care of her kids. They're not your responsibility, nor your fiance's. Your sister sounds odious. So there's a park with a playground in the middle. 2 of my friends and I were trying to lose some weight and look better because I hit a whopper total of weight. We all got kind of porky over the past few years. We usually meet up and go on walks together, and a few times a week, we do some exercise at the park using stuff like hand weights, kettlebells, etc. But yesterday, this woman with her kids at the playground kept looking over, glaring and scowling. I didn't notice, but one of my friends did. After like 10 minutes of this, she came over and started chatting, which I thought was normal. But then she was like, "So, I guess you girls must be new. This is a family park, as you can see." We were like, "Yeah, that's why we come here, and none of us are new." She got a little attitude and was like, "Okay, so if you know, why are you dressed like that?" My friends and I looked at each other and were like, "This is pretty normal exercise clothing, especially when it's 90+ degrees out. Like I was wearing bike shorts and a sports bra." I told her I didn't get the problem, and she kept saying, "This is a family park." And then she finally said that it was inappropriate. Like, I said, "Okay, how is it inappropriate?" And then I looked over at the playground where there was a mom with her kids in the exact same outfit. I pointed that out to the woman and asked why she wasn't bothering her, and she looked at me and said, "You know why." I said, "No, I don't know why." So she's actually over there with the kids, and we're on the other side of the park. She got kind of like red in the face and was like, "One of you is jiggling all over the place, and the other one isn't." I was like, "Oh, so your problem isn't the clothes, it's because I'm fat." Because yeah, I'm 5'4" and 200 pounds. LOL, of course I'm gonna jiggle. She was like, "I didn't say that. Don't put words in my mouth." I said, "No, but that's what you were saying." She kept talking about it being a family park, and I was done with it and ready for the next exercise. So I just said, "Okay, well, all of that sounds like a you problem." She said if she sees us again, she's going to call the cops for public indecency. I just laughed and said, "Okay, whatever, Becky." Last night, one of my girls sent me a screenshot of this woman's post on the neighborhood app, complaining about people dressing inappropriately at the park where there are children. The responses were all over the place, and some of them were definitely in support of us. But now I'm just like, really? Am I the idiot? Oh no, you were jiggling? Goodness gracious. I'm surprised all the good women of the park weren't fainting left and right. Encourage her to call the cops next time and let her get slammed about inappropriately using emergency lines. She might even get a ticket, depending on the jurisdiction. You are not the idiot. Okay, ma'am, what's the problem? Arrest her. She's being fat in public. I honestly cannot believe that she would all but call OP fat with her words and then deny she was calling her fat because she specifically didn't say the word fat. God forbid this woman ever takes her kids to a public pool or a public beach where women in bikinis jiggle and there are children all over. I can almost guarantee that the children she was so worried about hadn't even noticed your jiggling because they were too busy playing, and this woman was the one bothered. Good for you trying to do something for yourself, and good for you for making her say it, that she was fat shaming you out loud. Wear an outfit to match your skin tone next time. I, female 27, have a little sister, young teen, from my stepmother. Since we have a big age difference, my older sister and I were always the designated babysitters. When she became a toddler, she became very bratty. She would shout, hit, slap, and pinch you just out of nowhere. Or when something didn't go her way, she would run to her mom to complain. At first, we would tolerate it due to kids not knowing how to express themselves. Her personality did not get any less bratty. It just got worse. But my sister and I stopped caring because we both moved out in our early 20s. Our stepmom did not allow us to discipline her, even though the disciplining was firm talking. She would say it was not my or my sister's place to teach her, even when she threw her heavy toys in my face. It's my stepmom's job. Our dad wasn't even allowed to raise his voice, not even a little. Back to now. 2 days ago, I went back home to have dinner with the family after a long time. We were around the dinner table and just talking about random stuff. The topic of our rebellious phase came up. Our dad brought up the fact that not too long ago, my little sister took quite a bit of money out of his wallet without him knowing. I just laughed and looked at her. She looked away. I jokingly said, she should have taken a bit at a time, been smarter next time. My family jokes around like that, but my little sister was not happy. She said if my dad would have given her the money she wanted, she wouldn't have stolen, so don't blame her for it. My stepmother chimed in and said, I mean, she shouldn't have, but she and your dad should have had a better plan. I was like, what kind of excuse was that? And replied that stealing's dumb either way. What I said was a joke. If she wanted something so badly, either work for it or ask nicely, not steal. My little sister straight up told me to shut up and don't tell her what to do, and said I shouldn't be such a witch to her. I was not about to sit there and let her cuss at me, and I told her that her actions were dumb, and if she's going to be offended by what I said, at least talk to me properly and not play this bratty game, because I will not tolerate it like I did when she was a kid. My older sister told her that if she was going to be offended about it, she shouldn't have done it to begin with. My stepmother heard that and said it was not my or my sister's job to teach her kid. She asked us to back off since she's still a kid. At that point, I was heated and said if she's going to keep up this kind of parenting, her kid's going to end up the most spoiled and entitled brat. Good luck out there in society. I can confirm dinner was awkward afterward. When we left, our dad said that I was a bit harsh because my sister cried after that. I thought about it and thought I might have been a bit harsh and hurt her feelings. I agree she's still a little girl and is still learning. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your stepmother doesn't know how to parent at all. She just lets her daughter do whatever. Your stepsister will end up in jail or in lots of trouble as she gets older. You gave her a reality check. You did nothing wrong. She is not a little girl. She's a teenager who steals and tells people to shut up. You and your sister had every right to say what you did. If they didn't want to hear your point of view, then they shouldn't have brought it up. I feel sorry for your sister. She probably already has a tough time in the world with her horrible attitude. Still learning implies she's making progress. If her reaction to the story of stealing is to say your father should have given her the money, that indicates no positive movement. And her mother's comment about your father bearing some responsibility for the same reason means no one will be teaching her. Your sister's an entitled brat. Your stepmother's a terrible parent who is doing nothing to teach her daughter how to be a human being. Your father needs to grow up here and stand up to his wife, or his daughter's going to grow into a completely dysfunctional adult. My 19 female, 3 friends, 19 female, 20 female, 20 male, and I were going out to a restaurant, and another student, 19 male, from our summer study group abroad program that we've befriended in the past 3 weeks, asked to come. So we said of course he could come. It was a slightly upscale restaurant with a Michelin star. We all ordered our meals. Our newer friend couldn't really understand the menu since it wasn't in English, and his Spanish isn't that proficient yet, so he was Google translating. Then he gave up and just told the waiter he'll have what I was having. He didn't know the price since the menu didn't have prices, but we all assumed he'd ask the staff if we were concerned about the price, but he didn't. The table bill was about $1,100. It was $100 for the appetizers and about $200 for each person's main course. We had all agreed to pay for ourselves and then split the bill for the appetizers. Our friend was shocked that his meal was $200 and said he didn't have enough money. He started talking to the waiter, questioning each charge, and became more distressed. Then he demanded to know why I didn't tell him the price. First, it wasn't on the menu, so I didn't know exactly, but the price was about what I expected. He could have asked the waiter if he was worried about it, instead of just saying, "I'll have the same thing." I'm not sure what he expected since this is not a cheap place. He used his emergency credit card to pay and was quite upset and said I should have told him the price. My meal was no more expensive than anyone else's at the table. I'm not sure why he didn't just ask the waiter. Am I the idiot? Edit. We're all Americans studying Spanish abroad, including him. He's from a different American university. The menu was Spanish. Not the idiot. He got himself into that mess. It sounds like he tagged along without even Googling the restaurant. Didn't ask your group the most basic questions beforehand. Didn't ask the waiter about the price. Wasn't prepared. And then thinks it's okay to blame you? I get that it's awkward for him, but he has to own this one. You are the idiot. You told him it's a Michelin star restaurant, and it looks fancy, so you concluded he might have understood. But unfortunately, not everyone understands what a Michelin star restaurant is. He wouldn't even have the idea that it'd be an expensive place. Still, what saddened me was that he was struggling to understand the menu, and you guys didn't even help. You guys knew what to order for yourselves. You're detached from reality if you think a Michelin star restaurant where each course is $200 is just slightly upscale. You obviously come from money. No way you earned that kind of money yourself as a teenage student and don't recognize how lucky you are. Your friend probably has never been to anything comparable and was overwhelmed. They had no clue what prices to expect. You are the idiot because your privileged upbringing should have taught you better, but instead you knew and didn't warn them. My family and friends are calling me a bad parent, but I can't see how any of this is bad parenting. So I have 2 kids, a male teen and a younger female teen. Last year, my daughter decided to go vegan. I didn't have any problem with this one bit. I give her the money I would spend on food for her anyway. She buys her food and cooks it herself if what her mom is making isn't vegan. It has been the tiniest change we've ever had to go through. For some reason, though, my son has taken this change as an opportunity to bully his sister. I've made it clear to him that this is not okay at all and have punished him several times for his bullying. but it's never gotten through to him. Last week, this all came to a head when my son took all of the food my daughter had bought for the week and hid it, pretending he threw it away on garbage day. I got a call at work from my daughter, crying in the middle of the day, saying they had thrown all her food away. I had to rush home only to discover it was just a prank. I was livid. I was ready to make him eat nothing but rice for the rest of his time under my roof, but my wife calmed me down and came up with a better plan. So for the next 30 days, he will eat nothing but vegan food. We will make nothing but vegan food and buy nothing but vegan products. I told my son that if he wants anything else, he'll be paying for it. He lost his mind, but we've been a vegan family for the past 5 days. Well, my son called my parents, and they rang me up furious. They were telling me that I was abusing him. I ended up hanging up on them. The rest of my family followed suit, and some friends have joined in, saying that I'm the idiot and a bad parent. My son is miserable, but I don't care. He brought this upon himself. He still has food to eat and can spend what little pocket money he has to buy meat for the next 25 days if he wants. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. This is honestly more of a learning opportunity than punishment, and it's definitely not bad parenting. He's only being limited to vegan-only food that you buy for home. He can buy or cook his food for home and eat what he wants anywhere else. Maybe now he'll learn to stop being an idiot to his sister. I was about to call CPS on OP because you shouldn't use food to punish, but he's doing it the right way. They're all experimenting with vegan food as a family. This boy's allowed to buy his meat, but I wonder if the boy was bullying his sister or maybe even his classmates before this. Just one incident can't have brought out the monster in him. You are the idiot. A month on an unusual diet, forcefully deprived of the food he likes at his age, presumably eating the family out of house and home already, may backfire. He'd resent his sister, both of you as parents, and the idea of eating vegan or vegetarian. I honestly wouldn't know what to do about him being a little brat. Had he always been? Is it just towards his sister? Could he have felt demoted in importance to the parents all these years? I consider family therapy. I think he needs to feel more secure, which is being made worse with the family prioritizing the sister yet again. But the sister buys and cooks her own food, so the family's already prioritizing the son's meals. OP, he's a teen, so that means you potentially only have 2 years to hammer some tolerance into his skull. I'm sure this is also having some positive consequences for your daughter, since she's now eating the same thing as the rest of the family. And continuing to have some meals like that would probably help her feel included. If your son thinks this is abuse, he must have a great life. Oh no, my parents are making me eat healthy food, enough to sustain me. I must call my grandparents and tell them about this abuse. You decided to support your daughter by going vegan for a month, so there is food in the house, and your son is free to have it, or go have non-vegan meals on his dime. This is totally fair. You're not denying him food. You're teaching him a valuable lesson about kindness to his sister. I hope your family knows the full story, but stick to the course. Husband is in a huge snit about this and has taken himself to the spare room over it. Tonight was the first time since giving birth 7 months ago that I've been out at night, by which I mean I didn't do the baby's bedtime feed and routine. Instead, I left to go to the cinema with a friend shortly before his bedtime routine would begin. My husband used to help for the first 3 months with evenings, but has since said he's too busy or tired from work, so I do it. I talked him through the baby's routine, room temperature, lighting, noise, etc., and preferences, and my husband assured me he had everything under control. The movie barely started when I started getting calls from my husband. I texted to ask him what was wrong, and he said the baby wasn't sleeping. I texted him back with the reminders of how the baby prefers things, and he said he had done it all. I checked the baby monitor. The camera covers most of the room and could see that the room lights were on. The white noise machine was off, and he hadn't tucked the baby into his blanket. So I texted him to say as much, and he started calling me again, despite knowing I was in the theater. He texted me to come home and put the baby to bed. I told him that I was sure he had everything in hand and put my phone on D&D. I periodically checked on the baby via the monitor, and he was okay once husband followed the sleep routine. After the movie, I saw that my husband continued to call me for the next hour after we last spoke. When I got home, he started arguing with me for ignoring his calls and criticizing me because I left him alone. I offered to show him bedtime for the last 2 days before going out, and he didn't want to know. Am I the idiot for ignoring his calls and not helping with the baby? Not the idiot. He's using weaponized incompetence to get out of doing something he doesn't want to do. What a selfish idiot. Your husband needs to pull his weight concerning parenting. You were proactive in offering to show him beforehand. I think the solution is you tell him that he needs to take turns with you doing the evening routines. Offering no longer cuts it. She needs to force him to do it every other night, since by his admission, he couldn't do it once. And what would happen if she was in the hospital? I know he's competent, but if that's his argument, he needs to practice. Interestingly, you saw on the monitor that it worked once he followed your instructions, yet he still kept calling you. Is he aware you knew the baby was settled when he was harassing you? Or is he trying to say the baby was still awake? He's punishing you for going out. You need to nip this in the bud now. It's embarrassing that a dad doesn't know how to put his infant to bed. He obviously requires much more practice, and you should tell him so. This is called malicious, willful ignorance on your husband's part. He didn't know what to do because he didn't want to know what to do. He wanted you to come home and do it for him. He needs to face the fact that he's a father now, and being a father means dealing with the everyday stuff of having a baby, like feeding and putting the kid to bed. Don't back down, OP, or you'll be feeling like a single parent for a long time. This is about my sister-in-law, my husband's sister, and her husband, my husband's brother-in-law. I'm Irish. I moved to the U.S. 5 years ago after meeting my husband. We've been married for 3 years now. My accent has not faded at all in the 5 years I've lived here. It stands out a little more than ever, to be perfectly honest. My sister-in-law has made some comments about how I talk, little jokey things that were annoying, but I let it go for the sake of peace. A few times she said my name wrong too. About a year ago, she started outright mocking how I talk, making fun of the way I say three and th words in general, or the way some words are said differently, like aluminum. My husband told her to knock it off. Her husband was joining in too. If it wasn't words, it was Irish names they would mock or laugh about. I always attempted to be good-humored about it, but it was hard to hear. So I held back more than once so I wouldn't give in to them. The breaking point was his joke that I sounded dumb and illiterate for dropping letters or saying them differently. Telly was a word they went crazy over me saying. They said it was childish. My husband told them if they were going to treat me that way, we'd not see each other anymore. They didn't think he was serious, but outside of bigger family occasions, we don't interact now, not even a phone call or text. My mother-in-law turned 60 a few days ago, and there was a small family party to celebrate. Sister-in-law and her husband were there and did attempt to talk to me, but I ignored them and walked away, not wanting to be mocked by them again. They didn't like that and went around complaining. My mother-in-law's two sisters told me I should have been a civil adult and engaged with them briefly, not to be rude. Mother-in-law and father-in-law told them it was better than the alternative of an out-and-out fight. It put a damper on mother-in-law's birthday, and she's been lovely to me, so I feel a little bad about it. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. They knew you would no longer be interacting with them. They went out of their way to try to talk with you, and then proceeded to go around and complain when you wouldn't. They're the ones that put a damper on the party, not you. Your sister-in-law is the idiot. As someone who has an accent, Scottish, it really grates when people think they're being funny when they're just being plain rude. Your husband sounds great, and I'm glad he had your back. However, if anyone queries why you refuse to speak to sister-in-law, just explain politely. You were brought up to be respectful, but also not a mug. And for decency's sake, you will no longer interact with rude people. It's off how many people think it's rude to appear rude towards rude people. How is that possibly worse? You were civil. You didn't start a fight. You just avoided them. Your mother-in-law's sister didn't ask you to be civil, but more of a pushover. My female teen, parents male 34 and female 34, had me at a pretty young age. They aren't together anymore. I stay with my mom most of the time. He has a new wife, my stepmom, a stepson, tween, and 2 new daughters, pre-K. Yesterday was the first time I could see him in a while. It's almost been a month because of our schedules. Background, whenever I'm at his house, he rarely talks to me and mostly does stuff with his other kids. So I usually text my mom most of the time, trying not to cry. He and his family were going to my ballet recital. It was Cinderella, and I had the part of Cinderella, and I wanted at least my dad to see me perform. In a section of the performance I wasn't in, I checked through the curtains, and all of a sudden, 5 seats where they were sitting were empty. Not even my dad stayed. I was trying to be optimistic and think maybe an emergency had happened, but after my recital was over, I checked my phone and got no messages from my dad or stepmom. I was supposed to stay at their house for a few days, so I went over there to figure out what was happening. He was playing Barbies with his younger daughters. I asked, what happened? Why didn't you stay? He was like, oh, the kids got bored, so we decided to leave. I said, well, I just wish stepmom's name took the kids and left. I wanted you to see it. You didn't even have to take the kids in the first place. I just wanted you there. He wasn't even listening to me, too busy playing with his other daughters. I raised my voice. Dad, listen. He turned to me and said I needed to chill out, and it shouldn't be a big deal he didn't see the whole dance. I finally went off saying, but I want you to pay attention to me and talk to me and treat me like your daughter. You never do that anymore. You're too busy with your other kids. Tonight was supposed to be about me, but in some way, it's always supposed to be about your other kids. I always see the other girls getting flowers from their dads after recitals and getting validation on how well they did. You can't even do that for one night. I don't feel like you care about me. He said, I care about you. You don't need me anymore. I laughed sarcastically and said, of course I need you still. Maybe not for care, but emotionally I still need you. If you can't realize that, you're not a good dad. Then my stepmom puts her 2 cents in, saying I'm just upset and I need to grow up and realize it's not a big deal. I just left after that. After getting to my mom's house, I got a text from my stepmom calling me a brat for yelling at my dad and then just leaving and saying I needed to apologize. I just ignored the text. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Making sure your older kids still feel like a priority, even when your younger ones require more of your time, is taught in Parenting 101. If he can't do that, then he's a bad dad. As a dad, I'm sorry. He's made his choice, and you can also make yours. Please tell your mom about this and how you feel. I also suggest you stop relying on him emotionally. He made a new family for a reason. Do not trust him. This may not be your final straw with your dad, but it will come close. He will learn his lesson when you cut him off completely. Leaving the performance was disgusting. He should be there at the end to congratulate you on it. My wife has a similar dad, and she just stopped bothering with him at about your age. I couldn't imagine doing that to my daughter. Just know it's him, not you. You carry on being great. For the stepmom, the only response is, I take it that you'll be fine if my dad treats your daughters the way he treats me when they're my age, and let her sit with that. As for your dad, I'm so sorry for what is happening, but you don't owe him an apology, and you were not being a brat. This might sound ridiculous, but let me take the time to explain. So I, male 28, started working at this company for 6 months. My guy coworkers are decent. However, I noticed a pattern with my female coworkers, a couple of them, consisting of their opening and looking through my phone whenever they get the chance, me using the bathroom or meeting, etc. So far, I've caught them doing it 3 times. They didn't take something or open any apps because I would have known, but still didn't know why they kept snooping. I wanted to tackle this issue in a non-confrontational way, since they're both beyond sweet, except for this snooping thing. So what I did was set up insulting or offensive wallpapers. Some of them I made myself. Wallpapers that say, "Don't touch my phone, weirdo," or "I can see you," with John Cena waving his hand, or "Witch, don't touch my phone." It was just an experiment, but apparently it got to them. They claimed that I had offended them personally, called them names, and so on. I told them they had no business touching my phone, but they made excuses, saying they were trying to borrow my charger or check the time, etc., etc. The office got split. Some said I should have come to the ladies if I really had an issue. Some say I was justified, and ultimately, no one gets to control what I use as my wallpapers. They're now expecting a formal apology, but I refused. Am I the idiot? Did I handle this inappropriately? Not the idiot. Keep your hands off and your nose out of things that aren't yours. They would have never seen the offensive wallpaper if they hadn't been snooping. The punishment perfectly fits the crime. They chose to do something nosy and invasive and were rightfully called out. They shouldn't be touching your phone, period. And you've already caught them doing it 3 times before this. Maybe say a little louder for the people in the back of your office who don't seem to have heard it and are saying you should have just talked to the ladies. "But I just needed to borrow your charger." Right. Then they wait until you come back from wherever and they ask you like normal civilized human beings if they can borrow it. As for your choice of wallpapers that makes the ladies grab their smelling salts and aim for their fainting couches while clutching their pearls, that's freaking hilarious. I, a woman, absolutely loved it. I laughed when I read it and said to myself, "Don't touch other people's phones then, idiots." But why are they looking on your phone? This whole situation is bizarre. Your company must have policies regarding this behavior. It's not work-related, first of all, they're goofing off. Secondly, this is harassment, like looking through your wallet. They don't sound sweet at all.